What's going on, guys? Welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about Mavara, the newest fusion coming to Raid. And we're going to talk about the Epic as well, because that's something we're probably going to be aiming for on the free-to-play. So let's get cracking right into it, shall we? Starting off, A1, giving a fervor buff to a random ally every time she attacks. If the randomly selected ally already has fervor, it'll choose somebody else, but it will not be put on this champion, so she cannot put the fervor buff on herself. She also has a passive on the A1. Allies under a fervor buff have a 50% chance of joining the attacks of other allies under a fervor buff. This champion will not join in any attacks. If there are multiple champions on the team with this skill, only one will activate, and even if she's dead and there's another copy, that still won't activate. On her A2, we're getting a big strengthen and big increase resistance buff on all allies for 2-turn on a 3-turn cooldown. But we're also equalizing the HP of all allies, which means that your entire team will be brought up to whatever the HP percentage is of your highest health champion on that team at the time, right? Then on the A3, we are getting a revival. A single ally will be revived with 50% HP and 50% turn meter. Afterwards, she will be placing a 2-turn perfect veil on all allies except herself, and on herself she'll be placing a 2-turn unkillable, and she will also place the perfect veil and the unkillable even if the skill does not revive an ally. She is also doing this for 2 turns on a 3-turn. Finally, we've got the passive. For every 8 buffs the enemy team gets, your entire team will get 20% turn meter, and for every 16 buffs that gets placed on Mavara and her allies, she will heal all allies for 20% of their max HP, which is not bad. So she also has a 28% arena speed aura, so that's pretty good. And I have seen people talk a lot about her in PvP. Now, I will be honest, I'm not a super big PvP guy, don't really get a whole ton of enjoyment out of it. However, I still think that for most accounts, she might be worth picking up, especially if you are still trying to work your way into Hydra. I think she's a really, really good Hydra champion, bringing strengthen, increased resistance, and perfect veil, just making your whole team super tanky, right? Super tanky. She's also got a ton of healing in her kit. You're probably not letting the Hydra heads get buffs, right? You're probably going to bring a block buffs person. So you're kind of missing out on about half of the passive, especially the part of the passive that's giving you a ton of turn meter. But since you'll probably be placing a ton of buffs on your team, you're going to be, man, I don't know why it's so hard for me to talk tonight. You're probably going to be getting a lot of healing from the second part of her passive. On top of that, the fervor buff is kind of nice because if you get her going fast enough, you're probably going to be able to be placing a ton of these buffs on everybody, and it's pretty much simulating, it's almost like a light version of the turtles, right? We all saw how OP the turtles could be for account progression. And one of the big reasons is why whenever any of them attacks, all of them join in with their A1s. And so you're getting so many extra attacks. Now, here's the thing. I think if you're in a position where you don't really need a Hydra champion, you don't need a Chimera champion, because she seems pretty good in Chimera as well, right? So any clan boss, I mean, heck, even Demon Lord, if you really need, like if you're still struggling to get like a 1-key Ultra Nightmare, she might be what kind of pushes you over the edge, right? She's also incredibly, and I mean incredibly, broken with Palace. So if you're the kind of person who already has Palace on your account, to me, Mavara is a no-brainer because of the synergy that they're going to have together, right? Like, it's going to be insane. The only other thing about her kit that kind of leaves me with a little bit of pause, like a moment to pause, is it says this champion will not join in any attacks. Is that also ally attackers? So for instance, a Farrakhan or a Longbeard or something, Does that mean that she just won't join in with them? That seems a little not great, right? That seems a little not great. But again, she's kind of just a generally good support champion. And I guess if you really are looking for something to round out your tag team, right? You're trying to get like a second or third string PvP team going, then she's probably worth the pickup too, right? I just don't pay much mind to PvP outside of doing the dailies, so I can't really speak on it, right? I don't climb particularly hard in live arena or classic arena, and I think in tag team arena I'm still bronze 2 or bronze 3, right? So, but even for me, I mean, I am still working on my Hydra teams, and so I think Movara is absolutely necessary, especially to get a good, maybe even first string, right? She'd probably make my first string team a lot better. So yeah, the only reason I could say that you might not care about this fusion, just save your time, your money, or your resources, is if you are doing PvP. If you don't care for PvP, you're kind of just doing what you need to do with it. You're already absolutely crushing Hydra, crushing Chimera. You've got everything on farm, and you know that's like the fringe case, right? If you really don't need anything on your account, maybe you could skip it. But even then, I mean, it would still be nice to have, because who knows what kind of fervor synergies we could get down the line, right? And so for me, I think she might be generally just anybody wants to pick her up, right? Now, unfortunately, on the free-to-play account, we do not have the resources necessary to get a fusion done, so we will be focusing more on the epic. All right, so as you can see here, we've got Stonebound Fizbay, and she looks like also kind of just general support for the Argonite faction, but it is, you know, eventually that faction wars crypt is going to open. So even if you're not going for the legendary, you still definitely want to pick up a copy or two of the epic to start working through, you know, the faction wars, your faction guardians. Outside of that, let's just go over her kit real quick. So on the A1, we've got attacks one enemy, has a booked up to 50% chance of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff, and then steals 10% of the target's turn meter. On her A2, we've got attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing a hex and block buffs debuff on all enemies, books down to a 3-turn cooldown. On the A3, we've got Heart of Flint, decreases the duration of all allied debuffs by 1 turn, heals all allies by 15% of their max HP, and fills turn meter of all allies by 20%, again on a 3-turn cooldown. She's also got allies deal 10% more damage to enemies under debuffs placed by this champion. So Fizbay, he doesn't have anything that really jumps out at me except for the A2. The A2, again, kind of going into the theme of why I'm looking to grab Movara for the fusion, is simply because the hex and block buffs for 2-turn on a 3-turn cooldown is just really, really good for Hydra. And I've got Hydra on the brain. I absolutely need to work on my second and third string teams, even on my main account and on the free-to-play account. We do have the Ugo, but it's always nice to have something ready to go for the second or third string Hydra teams, right? So outside of that, her A3 is bringing a lot of healing and a lot of turn meter fill, decreasing the duration of allied debuffs by 1 turn. It'd be better if it was a full cleanse, but I feel like there's probably a good power level being kind of reached there, right? And of course, Heir of the Gorgoa, just 10% more damage whenever she places a debuff. I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So again, she's just, for the free-to-play account, I don't know if she slots into any other teams, you know, Dragon, not really all that useful. Ice Golem, don't really need, and don't really see how Hex could be bad, right? There's scenarios where Hex could be bad. Or that actually, I don't know. I don't know if Hex pushes the boss. So if the boss takes Hex damage and it pushes them over that percentage, I actually don't know if that will trigger the boss's attack. But even still, we kind of already have a team for her set up. But I don't want to miss the chance to get a really solid champion for Clan Boss, right? Because especially on the free to play, going to have to try to grab everything we can for future progression. So even if that's what she winds up becoming for most of the account's progression, is just being like a second string Hydra boss, you know, block buffs and Hex, you know, that's fine. And her A1, the decreased attack, I mean, it's one swing, it's 50%, and it does steal 10% of the target's turn meter, but honestly feel like her A1's nothing to write home about, and kind of feels a little weak. But maybe the trade-off is the A2 is really, really good, and the A3 is pretty good, right? And the passive is just a solid extra 10% damage, so that's never bad, right? So that's about it, guys. This is kind of a short video. I know I'm a little late to the party, but we've been working on trying to get ourselves back in the swing of things after the surgery. So, you know, I apologize. Still trying to get my brain properly screwed back into place. So please forgive me if I stumble or stutter or do any of that stuff over myself. It's been really, really hard these last couple of days, but we are still chugging along. In our next video, we wanted to do a 10-day, well, actually originally we wanted to do a week update on the free-to-play. It kind of worked out more to about a halfway point through the first month, but we have been making a ton of progress over there. So check out our next video if you are interested in kind of following along with the free-to-play, because who doesn't like doing a little free-to-play challenge every now and then, you know what I mean? Really test your raid knowledge to see how well you can do, right? Outside of that, guys, that's been all for me. I think the fusion is pretty much for everybody a must do, realistically, right? And if you can't do it, or you're, I guess, in that position that you really just don't need people, I guess, right? You're super end game. This champion might not supplant a lot of other really solid supports, but I don't know. I think even then, you know, Fervor, fairly new buff to the game, it seems like. So might be nice to have some of that, because you never know what kind of synergies we're going to get moving towards the future. But even if you don't get the fusion, you're like, man, not worth my time or my resources, I think you should at least try to grab as many copies of the epic as possible, because that faction war is going to be coming out soon, and having more copies for the faction guardians is just going to make sure that, you know, you hit the ground running. So anyway, guys, that's been all from me. I appreciate you guys coming out. If you like what you saw, like, comment, subscribe, all that fancy YouTube stuff, because it really does mean a lot to me and it really helps grow the channel. We've been slowly growing it over the course of the last year, and I'm really proud to see where I had come, you know what I mean, with how the channel has grown. But we've bounced around from game to game, and we haven't always been the most consistent as we would have liked to have been. But considering it's a side project, you know, I think we're up to like 425 subscribers, and I really do appreciate every one of y'all. I really do. I read all the comments, and I try to get back to people as best as I can. So outside of that, guys, I really appreciate y'all. That's it for me. I've been Titus. Until next time, I'll see you.